after me. Drowning in what feels just like an ocean.
Hi, this is Barack L. I'm here from Femigod, and I'm with Aleph Drasmin. We're just opening up with a beautiful conversation. How are you doing today, Aleph?
Blessed we are.
That's beautiful. Do you think you could give us a little bit of insight into the beginning of your ascension process and how it all started?
Hmm. The beginning of my ascension is really an ever evolving process. It's hard to pinpoint a singular event in my life that has catalyzed and brought me to this present point of awareness. It's been a combination of multiple awakenings through my life. My very first awakening was at the age of 11. When a friend of mine gave birth to a child, and that child shortly after died in a very, very horrible way. And my gift started shutting down. As a child, I had prophetic dreams, prophetic visions. My mother used to write them down. And at the age of 11, when that traumatic event happened, I started shutting down. And then again, at the age of 14, another incident happened in my life that shifted my way of seeing the world. I started seeing the evil in the world. I started feeling it more and more. And because I did not have the resources or the tools to understand this intensity of emotion in my body, I shut it down with drugs and alcohol and went down the rabbit hole into these really terrible choices. And then again at 20, spirit came in a car accident and attempted to shift me and push me towards awakening. And yet again, I resisted that. It's like, no, I'm scared. I don't know how to do this. I don't know where my tools are. You know, anytime I talk to anybody about the visions I was seeing, the light language that was coming through me, it's like, you're schizophrenic, you're crazy, you're bipolar, you need to get on drugs, all this stuff. So I shut it down again. And then at the age of 25, when shortly after my father passed away, I was doing some very deep counseling and therapy, specifically EMDR therapy, which is a type of therapy that repatterns the brain in the sense of, let's take the example of a road. You travel on a road long enough, you start to create these ruts. It's like muscle memory. You just know, you go down that road and you get to where you go. In the same way, when we develop and we grow, our reactions create these pathways of response that become muscle memory over time. And what EMDR does is it paves the road so there's not a path to just fall into, and it's just a smooth road, and then you get to create a new path. So that therapy was a big turning point in my life of being able to neutralize, so to speak, a lot of these rutted roads that were trauma responses, that were fear-based responses. And that allowed me at the age of 28, through the conscious use of cannabis and meditation every day. I set a timer for twice a day. And that was something I took from a Zen Buddhist practice of, if you want to master anything, just set a timer at the same time every day for 60 seconds and concentrate on the task at hand until it becomes second nature. And so that's how I started my meditation practice. I'm like, 60 seconds, do a little toke, let's do this. And then before you know it, a year and a half later, I'm meditating for like 5-6 hours a day. I would just slip into this deep consciousness and allowing myself to go deep into that. A year and a half into doing meditation with conscious use of cannabis, at the age of 28, I sat my first ceremony with DMT. And it was an illuminating experience where I didn't really have any visions or anything. I remember taking the medicine and just being embraced by this warmth, by the hug of the universe, you know, is what I call it now, this warm light. And it was such a profoundly healing moment for me where it it was such a peace. It was that peace that I'd been seeking for my entire life. It was like, wow, this feels good. This feels safe. This feels empowering. This feels like it's okay to be me. That feeling of peace that I felt through the activation of my own DMT molecules in my pineal gland, catalyzed by the acacia, is what then propelled me to continue calling in what was meant for me. And a few months later, I received my elder shaman initiation and was asked by spirit to go to the woods, to Mount Shasta, to do my vision quest. And that's really where my ascension started to begin. And it was involving a shedding. I let go of my medical career of 7 years. I let go of my engagement of 5 years. I let go of my cat, my home, my car, my books, everything. I just let it all go because I realized it was this baggage. You know, it's like you want to cook your dinner, but you're still holding on to your grocery bags. You got to set the bags down. You got to build the house. You got to build the kitchen. You got to get electrical in there. You got to get plumbing. You got to get pots and pans, and then you can cook the food. So in the same way, I had to completely just like get a sledgehammer, you know. And with my particular energies, I work with the dragon energies, and I work with ancient tantric lineage. It was a complete like Kali, the goddess of destruction and decay and growth, just coming in and just demolishing the temple of my being so that I could rebuild my own physical temple. I could rebuild the kitchen of my heart. I could rebuild the furnace of my womb space so that I could bring the fruit and the vegetables of these spiritual seeds I was receiving through my visions and my meditations to create a new home for myself. And the last 3.5 years, until about last year, early last year, I spent in conscious solitude to really integrate the healing that was happening, to really allow myself the grief of my childhood that ended very shortly at the age of 6, to grieve the loss of friendships and to grieve the loss of relationships, allowing myself to go through that, to sit in that discomfort, to really clear myself. You know, I really needed to tears heal your soul. And so that's been the path of my ascension. It's really been 80% deconstruction and destruction and dissolution, and 20% receiving, and maybe like a little bit here and there of like, okay, you know, what's next? And then integration. 100% of the time, integration. You know, the integration comes and it's like we release, and we need to like close that and integrate the gifts that come in so that that emptiness doesn't get filled back in with old habits and patterns.
That makes a lot of sense. What would you say? I know you spoke about, you know, in the beginning of your journey, kind of having people telling you, you know, you have these issues, bipolar, schizophrenia, you know, what would you say? What advice would you give for somebody, you know, beginning this process and going through the same thing? They don't know if they're losing their mind. They don't know if they're going through a spiritual experience. You know, they have people from the outside trying to diagnose them with all these traditionally, you know, Western symptoms, and may not be looking at it from a spiritual perspective. What advice would you give them to be able to make it through those obstacles?
Well, what I would say is here's a deck of cards for you to deal with it. But all jokes aside, I recently actually created this toolkit, and it's a small set of cards. I literally just printed these 2 days ago. It's a small set of cards, and it's A through Z of just assisting through that awakening. A, take, you know, and I developed this model on the ABCs because it's so familiar to us. We've all learned the ABCs. We all know A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's such a familiar, and that's something that I learned is like repatterning is how we heal. We go back to what we know and we recreate new modalities. So I created this deck of cards. It's like A, appreciate. I woke up today. B, take a breath. Inhale, exhale, pause. C, connect, hand on heart, and just repeat, I'm in my body, I'm in my body, I'm in my body. And then D, drum, make some noise, tap it out, jiggle, move, hum, whatever it is. And you go down through Z, where Z is Zen, all is well. And I created this tool because I get this question a lot. It's like, everyone's good opinion comes in, ego is great, but it's everyone's good opinion, it's everyone else's good opinion. At the end of the day, only the being in question knows what's good for the body. So the greatest advice that I would say for anyone going through the awakening who's being bombarded by everyone's good opinion is to just take a moment and take a breath. Or 5, or however many is needed to just return to that center in the heart and then proceed. I have an acronym on my website for STOP. Stop, S, slow down, just stop, just step back from whatever the situation, the monkey mind comes in, the anxiety, the chatter, the, oh my God, am I doing what's right? Oh my God, maybe he knows something because he's had 20 years of medical experience. Oh my God, my mom knows what's up, because she gave birth to me. Oh my God, my best friend knows the bee's knees because she just took this mastermind clothes. It's like all this stuff comes like, stop, just stop, just stop, just stop, just slow down, step back, and then take a breath. T, take a breath. Observe, is this coming from outside? Is this coming from within me? Okay, take a breath, observe what's coming out from the outside. Okay, this is someone's opinion from the outside. What's coming in from the inside? I'm not really sure. Okay, now's not the time to make a decision about it. I've been teaching consent for a few years of, if it's not a full body, yes, this is good for me. Like ice cream on a hot day, or, a fireplace when it's blizzard, like that full body. This is so great. This is what I want. It's a no. It's time to just take a step back, just let it go. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. So the greatest advice I would give is just stop, take a breath, step back. There's no need to rush. There's no need to hurry. The Ascension bus is not going to take off without you. Gaia is not going to just disappear if you don't elevate and you meet this mastery level and you get on point right there and then. It's like, it's good. It's all good. Everything has a time, has a place and a season. Everything is in divine alignment. Some beings are on the path that they're on because they've gone through extremely traumatic experiences in their childhood and in past lives that have trained them and subconsciously have allowed them to step up. And so you sometimes see someone who's young in physical years, yet is very wise in spirituality because they've already gone through their training and their experiences through many timelines. So let go of comparison. Let go of this need to perform and to perfect and to meet these unrealistic expectations that aren't even yours, and just let go. Just stop, take a breath, observe self, omit all else, and then proceed. And really just that moment to just like, it's those that hands up, hands on heart, personal boundaries. Okay. Thank you for your opinion. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for your critique. Because really all of these things that are around us are opportunities for self-reflection. They're checkpoints, right? Like every experience, every relationship is a checkpoint of, where am I at now in my current evolution? If I'm being triggered, that means that there's still a wound. If I'm still getting flustered and anxious about it, it's because there's something in me that's wanting to respond, but not in the way that I'm being asked to respond because there's still a wound within me. Anything that's imbalanced, anything that's makes this clenching, that clenching, like that fight or flight mode. It's like, oh, I got to protect myself. Anything that creates that clenching is a big indicator that there's a wound in there. And the answer, and all the sages say this, is love. It truly is. It's like taking a moment of like, I love myself. I am enough. All I am is valid. It's a part of this as well. It's like when you go to F, just take a big hug. Okay, all I am is valid. Everyone's good opinions, great. I am the author and sovereign creator of my own reality. So advice number one, take a breath. Just stop. Just that's the answer I have.
That's beautiful. That's great advice. I know you said you work with the dragon energy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that lineage and how you started working with that? Oh, you okay?
Yes, the tea got went down the wrong throat. Hold on a second. I'm having a human experience over here.
It's all right.
Oh gosh. So the dragon energy, for me, the dragon, my connection with the draconian lineage goes back many, many lifetimes. But the turning point for me and my intimate connection to the draconian lineage actually goes back to Atlantis. And these are memories that I've awakened through my journey, and they come when you're ready to receive them. And how I channel and how I practice and what I've learned of the draconian energy, it's the energy of leadership. It's fire. Nothing stays in fire without being transformed. So it's definitely an energy to be respected, but it's also an energy of the ultimate transformation. And yet with that, there's also always the shadow, right? It can also definitely be used for ill intention. I don't
Yeah.
personally believe in right or wrong because energy is neutral. Draconian energy, this really powerful energy born from the sun, where the dragons came from, is the energy of life. And the energy, depending on the intention of the being harnessing it, can be used for ill intention. So I want to get that really clear. Because there's a lot of like, oh, this person practices black magic, and I've been accused of practicing black magic because I harness these very intense energies, and I harness them to bring that deep soul transformation in the being. I bring and harness this draconian energy to heal the wounding of sexual trauma. I've been doing sexual energy healing for 5 years now, where I use tantric massage and pressure point therapy to release trauma in the womb, in the sex organs of the man or the woman. And so I bring this energy, this fire of life, this fire of transformation to burn away what's lingering. Sometimes, like, you got to burn the forest down so the ash can feed the soil. In the same way, energetically, I harness the Trigonian energy to burn away the detritus, the garbage that's there, that's just lingering, so that ash can be the nourishment for the soul's evolution and the harnessing of the soul.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So if somebody wants to connect with you and work with you, where can you tell us where they can find you at and how they can work with you and connect with you?
Absolutely. So the easiest website is awakenholyoneness.com. I do tantric life coaching specifically for a complete restructuring. So whenever I do coaching, or multiple sessions, however it plays out, my motto is take no shit. I really, the healing energy is half bullshit detector, and half like, okay, I know where you're full of shit, and I know where I can push you because I can see that you have that strength and you're just scared. And so my coaching program and the way the clients that I've worked with in the past, it's like an accelerated way to resolve some deep trauma. So if someone is ready to dive in there, to face the shadows, to be accountable for self, because that's the other thing, is like once we awaken, we realize that a lot of the stress and pain and suffering has been created by one's own choices. And that accountability is so key, because that's healing. That's taking back our personal power of like, wow, I've created all this stress and chaos in my life. I can take this and create ease and grace. And there's that forgiveness that comes as well. So Awaken Holy Oneness is the way to directly connect with me. I'm in the process of restructuring my coaching offerings, because I have a lot more resources available now for the beginner intermediate on this path. The deck of cards is there. There are breathing tools as well. And there will be a lot more offerings coming up over the next few months on just awakening. And in terms of the sexual energy healing, that is something that happens after we've had multiple sessions to just get to know each other. You know, if I'm going down there and you're private, I want to make sure that we have that relationship of trust, that we've taken the time to work through the shame, work through the trust, and cultivate, is this a safe space for both of us, where you can trust what comes through and trust me as a clear channel to bring that energy and hold that container for you. And I will add to that, I do have some powerful women that I've worked with that are also happy to offer their perspective on the healing work I've done with them. So it's not just me who's just speaking for myself.
Yes. No, that's great. I definitely encourage everybody to check out her site and work with her. We spoke a little bit about community and tribe. Can you give us a little bit more insight of why you feel that's so important along your journey?
Oh my gosh, because I mean, the heart of community is unity. Like it's in there, and the heart of unity is the I. So you start with self. And, you know, we talked a little bit about this at the beginning before we started recording, of how as we awaken, as we ascend, the people fall away in our lives. And so it's really important to have these different communities that will support the different stages of a being's evolution and growth through the human experience. In addition to the healing work that I do for beings and for the planetary consciousness, because I also work with the Earth Grid and the Family of Light and Night with the Galactic Federation, I've been traveling for the last few years and harmonizing intentional communities. I have different tools for conversation. And actually, we have here just moved into a new place where we're about to anchor and set up community. And community is so important because it reminds us that we are not alone. It reminds us that we have other people to rely on. My vision with community and what I've been planting, there is a community in Tennessee right now, and there's some here in Oregon, where each community has their own niche. And the way I view community is we all come together, we all practice authentic, vulnerable connection with each other through these containers of conversation I've created. And in between those check-ins, we can go and thrive in our passions rather than grind in a system that is not in alignment with one's best health. And when we have community, we can support each other to really thrive and be empowered with what we have to offer in our creative gifts. You know, some beings are natural kitchen mamas or kitchen papas. You know, they just know how to bring that food and that nourishment in, and that can really support a large group of people. And that being can be supported by these other people taking care of the house or building the infrastructure or going out into the world and bringing in the money and the resources. So community for me is really about First of all, everyone is on the same page. You know, we have a center theme for the community, whether it's an artist community, a healers community, a blacksmithing community, you know, only blacksmiths live in the community, whatever it is, right? And yet there is also the different parts of the human experience, because we all have 24 hours in a day. You know, cooking nutritious, delicious meals is a full-time job. Parenting is a full-time job. Whether it's for, you know, humans or plants or animals, you know, it's a full-time job. One person alone cannot do it. Our ancestors are, you know, back in the days, we had tribes. And so my vision of community and where I practice and where I'm going into with my work and what I'm doing is bringing back that tribe-like mind setting into our modern day world. We have the technology now where we don't need to walk 5 miles and pull water out of a well. I mean, I grew up in India, I've done that. We don't need to do that. We have running water, right? So there's like, let's marry the extremes of suffering in the East and excess consumption in the West to harmonize so that we can all thrive. This one of the things that I've been deconstructing over the last years is this whole concept of like the struggle is real. No, the struggle is not real. The struggle is a delusion. Abundance is real. It's tapping
Yeah.
into that. It's tapping into that. That's what community is for. Community helps tap into that abundance and amplify it into prosperity, because we have other people that we can count on. Like, okay, we have a kitchen mama. Okay, we have someone bringing in funds for the house. We have someone taking care of the garden. We have someone doing this. And this is where I can go and learn and travel to, and then shift into a different space and continue expanding that heart-centered, restoring the unity in community.
That's incredible. You know, that sounds very beautiful, and I agree 100%. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience, or any advice you think they can take away from this that you'd like to share with them?
Hmm. Speaking directly to any and all beings who are tuning in, you belong here. You are a unique light in this world, and you are being asked to shine. Even if shining means getting up, brushing your teeth, putting on a pair of pants, you keep showing up. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for choosing to come to this world. All of you is valid. Everything that you have experienced has brought you to this present moment. And I encourage and invite you to tap into your power of choice, because we may not have control over the situations around us, over the things that may happen to us, but we always have the power of choice on how we navigate a situation or an experience. And the more love we can have for ourselves and for each other, the more healing and restoration of this unity can occur, so that we may all ascend together and no one has to be left behind.
That's beautiful. I agree 100%. Thank you so much for stopping by today, Alice. I sincerely appreciate it. And I appreciate all the value you brought to our audience. It's definitely needed.
Thank you, brother. Thank you again for your presence, for the invitation, and for holding the container as a divine masculine, so the women and really any beings who have been wounded by the masculine body, so to speak, can start seeing that reflection of grace and lean more into the gentleness of the masculine energy. So thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And definitely stop by Awaken Holy Oneness and take a look at all she has to offer. She has many great tools for everybody out there on their ascension journey.
Aho.
So casually keep diving into concrete.